Hi, in this video we will look at arcs. So what are arcs? Arcs in animation basically is a path which is not a straight line, as simple as that. So objects in real life actually rarely take straight path. They generally move in arcs. But why do objects move in arcs? Let us understand that first.
So very simply, let us understand this concept with the help of a bouncing ball. So first of all, see, the ball is at rest and then a piston comes and gives it a push. Until and unless the ball is given a push, it will not move. Why? It is because of the Newton's law of motions, number 1. The law 1 says, the first law says that an object in motion tends to stay in motion and an object at rest tends to stay at rest unless the object is acted upon by an external force. So this piston in this example is that external force and it is acting in the x direction as denoted by Fx, and the arrow is given. Now when the ball was at rest, it was still acted upon by a force of gravity, but because of this red block was taking the weight of the ball, it was not moving, it was stationary. But as soon as the piston came and gave it an external force of Fx on this ball, it started to roll. And as soon as it reached the edge, there was no more block to take the weight of the ball, so the force of gravity, Fg, made it to start to come down. Now, because of this force x, which is the force in the x direction, and because of the downward force of Fg, force due to gravity, the resultant Fr that is shown by the red arrow is the direction in which the resultant force is acting, and also the direction, because force is a vector quantity. Vector quantities are quantities which have a unit, a magnitude, unit of magnitude, and also a direction. So force in a particular direction is the total definition of a force, so which is represented here by the red arrow, Fr. So you can see that at any given point of time, 2 or maybe 3 forces, in this example of bouncy ball, 3 forces are acting at certain point of time on it, but the resultant is the Fr, which is shown by the red arrow. And notice that this arrow is actually changing direction, and the resultant force, this Fr, is actually making the ball go in an arc. So in real life, an object could be acted upon by various forces, but the object will move in that direction in which the resultant force is making it go. So this is the main concept I want you to understand, that the resultant force generally makes objects go in an arc, never in a straight line. Because if you can deduce from this example that when an object will go in straight line, it means that the force making it go in that direction has to be too great, so that the resultant is favoring one direction. Which is why, let's say, when a rocket goes up, it goes quite a lot vertically, because there is tremendous amount of force that is being exerted on it due to the exhausts.
So I talked about the whole object going in an arc. Now let's understand why our body parts go in arc. Because we don't have so much of power in our muscles to move away from the arcs. Arc is the least energy taking path that our body can take. Our bodies are very efficient, energy efficient machines. It will take the least amount of energy taking path. If our muscles had been really powerful, then we could have deviated from an arc like some insects do, because many insects are really very powerful compared to their body weights. Some insects can really lift 6 to 10 times their body weight, so they are really powerful, and that is why they can afford to move zigzag, not in arcs. but still they do move in arcs most of the time. Same way, robots or certain machines do not need to move in arcs because they have immense power to move themselves. Another reason that our body parts go in arcs is because we are made of bones, and bones don't change their length. So when we are moving our hands or moving our fingers, so all these joints, they have a fixed length. So when we move it with the help of our muscles, so it will automatically go in an arc. It will go in an arc because it is fixed from a rotating point, and this length is fixed. So this point, if you track, it will be going in an arc. Following arcs in animation makes animation more natural, realistic, lifelike, and beautiful. It also makes animation more flowing. And all this is because naturally things move in arcs, like I explained few moments ago. So the path that any object takes, any animated object takes, is actually called the path of action. And this path of action is generally a kind of a smooth arc. For nice looking and organic looking animation, make this invisible path of action smooth. Also have all the in-betweens follow this invisible smooth path of action. Make sure all breakdowns are in arcs. Make sure that all the body parts are in arcs in the blocking stage itself. If you put the breakdowns in correct arcs carefully, half of your animation arc problems will be solved. Because breakdowns are very important. They define how the objects will move, or your animated subject will move from one key to the other. So if the breakdown is correctly placed, following correct arcs, then half of your arc problems will be over. And in order to maintain the arcs, sometimes you will have to go frame by frame. So to check the arcs, flip through the frames. Go behind few frames, then flip forward few frames, and always check the arcs wherever needed. And in certain places, it can get really difficult. So you have to be really careful as to observe correctly if your object is moving in arcs or not. You can't always rely on the graph editor looking smooth, because the graph editor is divided into 3 rotation channels and 3 translation channels. So they can individually be smooth, but maybe the resultant motion that is visible on the screen may not be smooth. So you have to carefully check through your shot camera as to if your object is really taking a nice arc or not. And for that, again, you will have to go frame by frame at some places. Richard Williams said that all invention in animation happens at the breakdown. Breakdowns are very important, and you have to carefully put them in arcs. Experiment with the breakdowns. Make them nice and interesting. Check for arcs always. So always try to be very careful initially when you are animating with the breakdowns. Try to make them interesting. Try to make sure that they are nice and proper. And just like all the things in animation, like anticipation, follow through, overlapping action, slow in, slow out, and any other principles of animation, exaggerate arcs as well in order to make it more realistic, so to speak, more effective rather. And when things are exaggerated a bit in animation, they always look slightly better. Now, why does exaggeration make things look good? Well, there is no particular answer to it, but as far as I have read The Illusion of Life or The Survival Kit by Richard Williams, is that if we animate as it is in the real life reference, the animation looks dull and uninteresting. The reason might be that in real life there are a lot of things that the eye can see. So all those details like the eyebrows, the eyes, the head, the neck, the hair, the clothes,
So all these details, they whet the eye, so the eye doesn't feel it boring or unnatural. But when it comes to animation, there are very little details actually that we can afford to put in a character, because we cannot spend our whole life in animating one shot, right? And also, the facial features of a real human being are really complicated. Our eyes are trained to understand those subtle differences, and when we don't see them, our brain feels very bored. So animated characters are quite simpler than real life counterparts. So in order to make things lively and interesting, we need to pump more of everything, and that is what exaggeration is all about. Because there are so many things which are lacking in our animated characters, so whatever we have, that emotion, that expression, the hand movement, the overlapping, the arcs that the object is taking, maybe the slow in, slow outs, all the tools that the animator has, all these things have to be exaggerated, because these are our tools. So just use them and exaggerate them in order to make your animation more interesting. If you want to check if the head is in arc or not, the easiest way to track the head is if you track the nose tip. If you plot the nose tip or observe closely the nose tip, it will be very easy for you to understand if the head is taking a path, a correct arc or not. If the nose is taking a proper arc, then we know that the head is also taking a proper arc. Generally, arcs are so important and really contribute so much to making a scene shine that generally arcs can fix even a bad shot. There's so many shots that just need some arcs or little more exaggeration in the arcs and then polishing of the arcs, and with just that the scene really goes to the next level. Exaggerate the arcs to fix uninteresting shots. Most of the time, if a shot looks uninteresting, it all needs an exaggeration of the principles, and especially the principle of arcs. Arcs and figure eights on the neck, head, fingers, hips, spine, elbows, wrist.
So that's it for arcs. There must be many things that I have missed out. There must be many things that will come to my mind later. But at this point, this is all that is coming to my mind that I can tell you. So if you like the video, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of my future videos. If you have anything to say, you can do so in the comment section. I will try to reply. So until next time, keep animating.